Welcome friends to another session on mathematical modeling. Let us discuss nonlinear models in this session. Nonlinear models. The Malthusian model predicts that population growth will be exponential. However, such a prediction cannot really be accurate for very long. After all, exponential functions grow quickly and without bound, and according to such a model, sooner or later there will be more organisms than the number of atoms in the universe. The model developed in the last section must be overlooking some important factor. To be more realistic in our modeling, we need to re-examine the assumptions that went into that model. The main flaw is that we have assumed the birth rates and death rates for our population are the same regardless of the size of the population. In fact, when a population gets large, it might be more reasonable to expect a higher death rate and a lower birth rate. Combining these factors, we could say that as the population size increases, the finite growth rate should decrease. We need to somehow modify our model so that the growth rate depends on the size of the population. That is, the growth rate should be density dependent. Creating a nonlinear model. To design a better model, it is easiest to focus on delta p by p, the change in population per individual, or the per capita growth rate over a single time step. Once we have understood the per capita growth rate and found a formula to describe it, we will be able to obtain a formula for delta p from that. For small values of p, the per capita growth rate should be large, since we imagine a small population with lots of resources available in its environment to support further growth. For large values of p, however, per capita growth should be much smaller as individuals compete for both food and space. For even larger values of p, the per capita growth rate should be negative, since that would mean the population will decline. It is reasonable then to assume delta p by p as a function of p and has a graph something like that in figure 1. See figure 1, it gives the per capita growth rate as a function of population size. We cannot say exactly what a graph of delta p by p should look like without collecting some data. Perhaps the graph should be concave, for instance. However, this is a good first attempt at creating a better model. For the Malthusian model, delta p by p equal to r, so that the graph of the per capita growth rate is horizontal line, there is no decrease in delta p by p as p increases. In contrast, the sloping line of figure 1 for an improved model leads to the formula delta p by p is equal to m into p plus b for some m less than 0 and b greater than 0. It will ultimately be clearer to write this as delta p by p is equal to r into 1 minus p by k, so that k is the horizontal intercept of the line and r is the vertical intercept. Note that both k and r should be positive. With a little algebra, we get p of t plus 1 is equal to pt into 1 plus r into 1 minus pt by k as our difference equation. This model is generally referred to as the discrete logistic model, though unfortunately other models also go by that name as well. The parameters k and r in our model have direct biological interpretations. First, if p is less than k, then delta p by p is greater than 0. With the positive per capita growth rate, the population will increase. On the other hand, if p is greater than k, then delta p by p is less than 0. With a negative per capita growth rate, the population will decrease. K is therefore called the carrying capacity of the environment because it represents the maximum number of individuals that can be supported over a long period. However, when the population is small, that is, p is much smaller than k, the factor 1 minus p by k in the per capita growth rate should be close to 1. Therefore, for small values of p, our model is approximately p t plus 1 is approximately equal to 1 plus r into pt. In other words, r plays the role of b minus d, the birth rate minus the death rate, in our earlier linear model. The parameter r simply reflects the way the population would grow or decline in the absence of density dependent effects when the population is far below the carrying capacity. The standard terminology for R is that it is the finite intrinsic growth rate. Intrinsic refers to the absence of density dependent effects, whereas finite refers to the fact that we are using time steps of finite size rather than the infinitesimal time steps of a differential equation. A key point to recognize this model is that both delta p and pt plus 1 are expressed as quadratic polynomials in terms of pt. Furthermore, these polynomials have no constant term, that is, no term of degree 0 in p. Thus, the logistic model is about the simplest nonlinear model we could develop. Iterating the model. As with the linear model, our first step is understanding this model is to choose some particular values for the parameters r and k and for the initial population p naught and compute future population values. For example, choosing k and r so that pt plus 1 is equal to pt into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus pt by 10 and p naught is equal to 0.4346, we get the values in table 1. See table 1 corresponding to t 0, 1, 2, 3 etc. till 12, we have computed values for pt. Corresponding to 0, we get 0.4346, t equal to 1, pt is equal to 0.7256 and so on. If we measure population size in units such as thousands or millions of individuals, then there is no reason for populations to be integers. Also, we are only attempting to approximately describe a population's size. We do not expect our model to give exact predictions. As long as the numbers are large, we can just ignore fractional parts without a significant loss. In the table, we see the population increasing toward the carrying capacity of 10 as we might have expected. At first, this increase seems slow, then it speeds up and then it slows again. Plotting the population values in figure 2 shows the sigmoid shaped pattern that often appears in data from carefully controlled laboratory experiments in which populations increase in a limited environment. Unlike with the linear model, there is no obvious formula for pt that emerges from our table. We have lost the ease with which we could predict future populations. Although nonlinear models are often more realistic models to use, we cannot generally get explicit formulas for solutions to nonlinear difference equations. Instead, we must rely more on graphical techniques and numerical experiments to give us insight into models' behaviors. Next is cobwebbing. Cobwebbing is the basic graphical technique for understanding a model such as the discrete logistic equation. It is best illustrated by an example. Consider again the model p naught is equal to 2.3 and pt plus 1 is equal to pt into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus pt by 10. Begin by graphing the parabola defined by the equation, giving pt plus 1 in terms of pt as well as the diagonal line pt plus 1 is equal to pt as shown in figure 3. Since the population begins at p naught equal to 2.3, we mark that on the graph's horizontal axis. Now, to find p1, we just move vertically upward to the graph of the parabola to find the point p naught p1 as shown in the figure. We would like to find p2 next, but to do that we need to mark p1 on the horizontal axis. The easiest way to do that is to move horizontally from the point p naught p1 toward the diagonal line. When we hit the diagonal line, we will be at p1 p1 since we have the point the same second coordinate, but changed the first coordinate. Now, to find p2, we just move vertically back to the parabola to find the point p1 p2. Now, repeat these steps forever. It should be clear from this graph that if the initial population p naught is anything between 0 and k equal to 10, then the model with r equal to 0.7 and k equal to 10 will result in an always increasing population that approaches the carrying capacity. If we keep the same values of r and k, but let P naught equal to 18, the cobweb looks like that given in figure 4. Figure 4 gives the cobweb plot for the nonlinear model. Indeed, it becomes clear that if P naught is any value above k equal to 10, then we see an immediate drop in the population. If this drop is to a value below the carrying capacity, there will be a gradual increase back toward the carrying capacity. Analyzing nonlinear models. Unlike the simple linear model producing exponential growth, nonlinear models such as the discrete logistic one can produce an assortment of complicated behaviors. In this section, we will look at some of the different types of behavior and develop some simple tools for studying them. Transience, equilibrium and stability. It is helpful to distinguish several aspects of the behavior of a dynamic model. We sometimes find that regardless of our initial value, after many time steps have passed, the model seems to settle down into a pattern. The first few steps of the iteration, though, may not really be indicative of what happens over the long term. For example, with the discrete logistic model, P t plus 1 is equal to P t into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P t by 10 and most initial values P naught, the first few iterations of the model produce relatively large changes in P t as it moves towards 10. This early behavior is thus called transient because it is ultimately replaced with a different sort of behavior. A real world population may well experience disruptions that keep sending it back to transient behavior. Usually, what we care about more is the long term behavior of the model. The reason for this is we often expect the system we are studying to have been undisturbed long enough for transients to have died out. Often, but not always, the long term behavior is independent of the exact initial population. In the model, P t plus 1 is equal to P t into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P t by 10. The long term behavior for most initial values was for the population to stay very close to k equal to 10. Note that if P t is equal to 10 exactly, then P t plus 1 is equal to 10 as well and the population never changes. Thus, P t equal to 10 is an equilibrium or steady state or fixed point of the model. Now, let us see a definition. An equilibrium value for a model P t plus 1 is equal to f of P t is a value P star such that P star is equal to f of P star. Equivalently, for a model delta P is equal to g of P t, it is a value P star such that g P star is equal to 0. Finding equilibrium values is simply a matter of solving the equilibrium equation. For the model P t plus 1 is equal to P t into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P t by 10, we solve P star is equal to P star into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P star by 10 to see that there are precisely two equilibrium values P star is equal to 0 or 10. Graphically, we can locate equilibria by looking for the intersection of the P t plus 1 is equal to f of P t curve with the diagonal line. In our example, P star is equal to 0 and 10 are both equilibria, but a population near 0 tends to move away from 0, whereas one near 10 tends to move towards 10. Thus, 0 is an unstable or repelling equilibrium and 10 is a stable or attracting equilibrium. Assuming our model comes close to describing a real population, stable equilibria are the ones that we would tend to observe in nature. Since any biological system is likely to experience small perturbations from our idealized model, even if a population was exactly at an equilibrium, we would expect it to be bounced at least a little away from it by factors left out of our model. If it is bounced a small distance from a stable equilibrium, though, it will move back toward it. On the other hand, if it is bounced away from an unstable equilibrium, it stays away. Although unstable equilibria are important for understanding the model as a whole, they are not population values we should ever really expect to observe for long in the real world. Linearization. Our next goal is to determine what causes some equilibria to be stable and others to be unstable. Stability depends on what happens close to an equilibrium. So, to focus attention near P star, we consider a population P t is equal to P star plus small p t, where small p t is a very small number that tells us how far the population is from equilibrium. We call small p t as the perturbation from the equilibrium. A growing perturbation means instability, while a shrinking one means stability. Now, we will consider one example. Example 1. Consider again the model P t plus 1 is equal to P t into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P t by 10, which we know has equilibria P star is equal to 0 and 10. First, we will investigate P star is equal to 10, which we believe is stable from numerical experiments. Substituting P t is equal to 10 plus small p t and P t plus 1 is equal to 10 plus small p t plus 1 into the equation for the model yields 10 plus p t plus 1 is equal to 10 plus p t into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus 10 plus p t by 10. That is 10 plus p t plus 1 is equal to 10 plus p t into 1 plus 0.7 into minus p t by 10. That becomes 10 plus p t plus 1 is equal to 10 plus p t into 1 minus 0.07 p t. That is 10 plus p t plus 1 is equal to 10 plus 0.3 p t minus 0.07 p t square, and finally we get p t plus 1 is equal to 0.3 p t minus 0.07 p t square. But we are only interested in small p t being a very small number. So, p t square is much smaller and negligible in comparison with p t. Thus, we can approximate the equation p t plus 1 is approximately equal to 0.3 p t. This means that values of p t close to the equilibrium will have their offset from the equilibrium compressed by a factor of about 0.3 with each time step. Small perturbations from the equilibrium therefore shrink, and P star is equal to 10 is indeed stable. We can think of the number 0.3 as a stretching factor that tells how much perturbations from the equilibrium are increased. Here, because we stretch by a factor less than 1, we are really compressing. The process performed in this example is called linearization of the model at the equilibrium, because we first focus attention near the equilibrium by our substitution p t is equal to p star plus small p t, and then ignore the terms of degree greater than 1 in small p t. What remains is just a linear model approximating the original model. Linear models, as we have seen, are easy to understand because they produce either exponential growth or decay. A remark on calculus. If you know calculus, the linearization process might remind you of approximating the graph of a function by its tangent line. To develop this idea further, the stretching factor in the previous discussion could be expressed as the ratio p t plus 1 by p t for small values of p t. But p t plus 1 by p t is equal to capital P t plus 1 minus p star by p t minus p star, which is equal to f of p t minus p star by p t minus p star, which is in turn equal to f of p t minus f of p star by p t minus p star, where p t plus 1 is equal to f of p t is the equation defining the model. Note that we used p star is equal to f of p star for the last equality. Because we are interested only in the values of p t very close to p star, this last expression is very close to limit Pt tends to P star f of Pt minus f of P star by Pt minus P star. But this limit is by definition nothing more than f dash P star, the derivative of the function defining our model. Let us see one theorem now. The statement is like this: if a model P t plus 1 is equal to f of Pt has equilibrium P star, then modulus of f dash P star greater than 1 implies P star is unstable, while modulus of f dash P star less than 1 implies P star is stable. If modulus of f dash P star is equal to 1, then this information is not enough to determine stability. We will see one more example. Using the same model, P t plus 1 is equal to P t into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P t by 10. So, f p is equal to P into 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P by 10. We compute f dash p as 1 plus 0.7 into 1 minus P by 10 plus P into 0.7 into minus 1 by 10. Therefore, f dash 10 is equal to 1 minus 0.7, which is equal to 0.3, and P star is equal to 10 is stable. While linearizing to determine stability, it is vital that we are focusing on an equilibrium. Do not attempt to decide if a point is a stable or unstable equilibrium until after you have made sure it is an equilibrium. The analysis assumes that the point P star satisfies f of P star is equal to P star. For example, if we tried to linearize f at 11 in the previous example, we could not conclude anything from the work because 11 is not an equilibrium. Finally, it is also important to realize that our analysis of stable and unstable equilibria has been a local or rather a global one. What this terminology means is that we have considered what happens only in very small regions around an equilibrium. Although a stable equilibrium will attract values close to it, this does not mean that values far away must move toward it. Likewise, even though an equilibrium is unstable, we cannot say that values far away will not move toward or even exactly to it. Now, let us summarize what we have discussed in this session. We started our session with the method to formulate a nonlinear model. Then we discussed the iteration and cobwebbing in order to have a better understanding of the model. We also have seen various ways for analyzing a nonlinear model. For a better understanding of the topic, you can try out the following problems. First one, in the model, delta p is equal to 1.3 into p into 1 minus p by 10. What values of p will cause delta p to be positive and negative? Why does this matter biologically? Next question. Suppose a population is modeled by the equation nt plus 1 is equal to nt plus 0.2 nt into 1 minus nt by 2 lakh when nt is measured in individuals. First one, find an equation of the same form describing the same model, but with the population measured in thousands of individuals. Here is a hint. Let nt equal to 1000 mt, then nt plus 1 is equal to 1000 mt plus 1, and find a formula for mt plus 1 in terms of mt. Next part, find an equation of the same form describing the same model, but with the population measured in units chosen so that the carrying capacity is 1 in those units. To get started, determine the carrying capacity in the original form of the model. Problem number 3. For each of the following, determine the equilibrium points. First one, Pt plus 1 is equal to 1.3 Pt minus 0.02 Pt square, and second one, delta P is equal to 0.2 P into 1 minus P by 20. Here are some books for further reading. First one, Modules in Applied Mathematics Volume 4, Life Science Models by H. M. Roberts and M. Thompson, Springer Verlag 1982. Second one, Mathematical Modeling in Biology and Introduction Elizabeth S. Allman and John A. Rhodes. Third one, Mathematical Biology lecture notes by Jeffrey R. Kasnov. Fourth one, Mathematical Modeling lecture notes by Jeff S. McGough. And fifth is Mathematical Modeling lecture notes by David C. Dobson. With this, we come to an end of the session. We will continue with modeling in another session. Till then, goodbye.